friends, Brianna here. Welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be reacting to bad reviews of my favorite books, specifically Cosmere books, which are my favorite books, so it's not just a Cosmere themed video, because those are my favorite books. Anyways, I was originally going to do the main four Cosmere books, but that's just going to make this video super long. I've already gone through like a couple of the reviews, bad reviews, and just been skimming them, and it's going to be a ride. So we're just going to cover The Way of Kings, which is the first book in the Stormlight archive, and Mistborn, the first Mistborn book. I am going to do my best to stay away from spoilers while reading these reviews. I'm either just going to read around them or paraphrase or just not read any reviews that have like super big spoilers in them. So if you have not read any of these books and you plan to, this should be spoiler free. If for some reason I say something spoilery, I'll warn you in editing. But let's get to it, okay? I'm a little nervous because The Way of Kings is my all-time favorite book ever. Also, just fair warning, if you hear like random screaming or gunfire in the background, my boyfriend is playing Call of Duty with his friends in the other room and it's a little loud, so. If you had to read The Way of Kings, which you shouldn't do, but if you have to because your dad gave it to you and he's your dad, I recommend you do so while a little bit drunk. It makes this book a lot more fun. For example, when passages like this occur. She stared eastward, her expression horrified, eyes wide and sorrowful. It was the face of a child watching a brutal murder that stole her innocence. Well, I'd much rather read that sort of thing while slightly drunk. What's wrong with that passage? I know exactly what scene that is. Excuse you, sir. I'm fine. It's fine. What's wrong with that? We're just gonna step away from that one. We're not gonna go there. I'm gonna skim this because this is a very long review. I have noticed while skimming these reviews that some of them, like some of the bad reviews, are like paragraphs upon paragraphs upon paragraphs. Maybe it's just because I'm a nice person, but like when I don't like a book, I'm like, this was okay, just not my cup of tea, and that's like my whole review. Even when I do get like a little bit more like critical with it, it's like a couple sentences of me saying like what I thought was wrong or could have been better and why it didn't, you know, vibe with me, and then that's that. But people will like write essays about why they didn't like something. Like, jeez, really? Like, why? I don't understand it. But you do you. If you're one of those people, that's fine. You do you. I just don't understand why you would put that much time into talking about something that you genuinely didn't like. Anyways, there's a distinct World of Warcraft feel to this book, and the world has a lot of gimmicks, and the plot has really no forward momentum. It's like everyone is bouncing around until they reach the next level. I'm just saying, when you find yourself writing about anticipation spren, that is a red flag. I've noticed a lot of people don't like the spren. That comes up in almost every bad review I've looked at so far. People are like, what is up with these emotions spren? It's so weird. I don't like it. But it's part of the world building, and I love the spren. The spren are amazing. I think it's one of like the weirdest, most creative like elements to a world I've ever seen. It's so different and I like it, so that's my opinion. But it's okay if you don't like it. Like, I'm not that mad about it. I just don't understand why so many people are like, have like deep hatred of this spren. Wait, what? So if you cut out the prelude and the prologue, which are mostly establishing the setting, and it's not, frankly, such an opaque setting that a reasonably intelligent person couldn't figure it out as they went along. And anyway, there is something to be said for not telling your readers more than you tell your characters. People seem to think they know everything when they read The Way of Kings. And they think that there's like too much information handed to them. My personal opinion is that there's not enough. I know it's a slow-paced book, but okay. It's one of my personal opinions. It's like, I don't want to be that person that says, well, you have to read the whole series to understand something. But like, you can't read the first book in a series, especially when it's supposed to be a high epic 10-book series in the fantasy genre, and be like, oh, this thing has plot holes. This thing doesn't make sense. This thing wasn't explained to me enough. The history of the world isn't very fleshed out. There's reasons for that. There's like literally in-world plot reasons for these things that are slowly becoming answered, and more questions are coming as you read the series. I just feel like you can critique a book when it's the first book in a series, but you can't, I don't know. It's so hard to explain. Maybe I'm just weird. I don't know. I just feel like if you don't like a book and you read the first book in a series and you don't like it and you're just like, I didn't like this, then don't finish the series. That's fine. I have no problems with that. Like, don't read something if you're not enjoying it, if you're not having a good time, if you're not intrigued. But just like to have this much critique about a first book in a series when a lot of your critique is stuff that gets like answered and makes sense if you continue to read in the rest of the series, okay. Anyways, I wish we could eliminate flashbacks from literature. I really do. But even if we can't do that, I wish we could limit Brandon Sanderson to a couple. Again, this isn't so opaque or intricate a book that I can't really pick up clues about formative experiences when they are referenced 20 times a chapter, okay? But also, that stuff doesn't matter. It really, really doesn't. The book would be both better and shorter without those flashbacks. Like, of course it's going to be 10 books. Fully half of each book is going to be extraneous to the plot. The other big problem, as you might have guessed, is that Sanderson thinks his readers are very stupid. For example, if something important has just happened and most of the book has been devoted to its occurrence, I don't need something just changed, Moshe whispered, hand up. Something important. Yeah, we already got there. It's terrible writing anyway, just from an aesthetic perspective. Likewise, I don't need every bit of characterization spelled out for me. For one, a bit of ambiguity is valuable. Otherwise, it looks like a casting call or stage directions. For another, characters expressed by dialogue and action, and if writer is good hand in at least one of those, then passages like Navani was always at her most genuine when playing with new Fabrials. It was one of the few times when one got to see her without any pretense. This wasn't Navani the king's mother or Navani the political schemer. This was Navani the excited engineer. Are entirely unnecessary. No, it's not. No, it's not. That's not even like for you. The thing is, like, that's not like just explaining something that you as a reader already picked up on. That's literally giving you insight into Dalinar's perspective of this woman who he has feelings for and has been like struggling with for a long time and who has been trying to court him. It's just, it makes sense. Oof. Okay, also like the thing about Moshe saying that like something important just happened. The characters don't know what's happening, even if you're 10 steps ahead of them. And most of the time in the Stormlight Archive, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not. Just going to put it out there. Most people who are reading these books don't know what's about to happen. That's all I'm going to say. Book 1 is the easiest one to predict events, but you can't even predict longer term events. You can kind of guess Kaladin's trajectory in book 1, and that's about it. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not saying like it's impossible to guess like twists and like, you know, hinted things that aren't foreshadowed things, whatever. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I don't know. I have so many feelings, you guys. This is my favorite book, so I'm getting a little defensive, but this is all in fun. This is all just in jest. I just want this to be a fun, lighthearted video. I'm trying not to take it too seriously. Everyone is entitled to their opinions. And if you don't like something I like, that is fine. If I don't like something you like, I hope you will respect that and not hate me for it. But I'm still really offended by a lot of this stuff. Other bad things. The battle and fight scenes were super boring and awkwardly written, and there are a lot of them. I don't actually think there's that many battle scenes in The Way of Kings. There's like a handful of like the very basic ones when they're going after gem hearts and stuff. That's not, I don't know. I wouldn't even consider that like a battle scene in the book because I don't know. It's complicated. I have a complicated opinion. I should state that I have read The Way of Kings 13 times in the last 6 years, if you didn't know. So I feel like my opinions are a little valid, maybe. It's not like I read this once and I'm just going off memory. Like, I think I know what I'm talking about to an extent. Maybe? Let me go to another review. That was all one review. Jesus Christ, I've been filming for 10 minutes. Okay. I was really surprised when this turned into everything I hate about fantasy novels. Full-on hoodoo. My best experiences with fantasy novels have always begun from a relatable place. A world mostly like ours and characters with recognizable emotions, desires, and problems make the rest of the author's universe palatable. When your first introduction is to the weird, it doesn't compel me to read further. Long action sequences up front, I feel like I fell into Boris Vahilo's nightmare. Genky names, fierce brand Voidbringers, this is bad adolescent writing. Goo? Question mark? Everybody hates the spren! I just don't get it. Also, this person said that their best experiences with fantasy novels begin with a relatable place, with a world mostly like ours. But the thing about fantasy novels is most of the time the world is the one thing that's not like ours. Characters' desires and emotions and things like that obviously relate real world experiences, and plot things happening in fantasy novels will relate real world experiences, but the world is the one thing in the magic system, if it has a magic system, that's supposed to be very unlike what you know. That's the whole thing with fantasy novels. This is not just like your regular contemporary rom-com. This is a fantasy epic. I'm baffled. Okay, what else we got here? Every emotion seems to have a corresponding fairy-type creature associated with it called spren. In the opening pages, one of these is described as globs of purple goo, really clunky, weak, and inartful. I mean, I love the spren, and they're all very different. I think there's a lot more going on with the spren, like in-world building stuff that you have not a clue about in The Way of Kings. Like, this isn't just like Sanderson decided to throw these things in there because they looked fun and like it just added to like the world. Like, I feel like almost everything Sanderson does in his writing is for a reason. Like, I feel like almost everything, at least that I've read of his, and to the point where I'm at in his stories, has all served a purpose. Whereas like some things like have been slow or drawn out or fast paced or whatever, and you know, you can have your personal preferences for those, but everything has a reason, is for a purpose, and there's always something coming because of it that, like, you might get the thing and be like, well, this doesn't make sense, and 2 books later you're gonna be like, oh damn. I'm just not impressed. A few reviewers say that you have to keep reading and that it picks up about 800 pages in. You're not wrong on that count. The Way of Kings is absolutely a slow book. The thing with Sanderson, I mean, in general, like, not all of his books are slow-paced. Way of Kings is definitely a slow-paced book. But I feel like almost every single book of Sanderson's that I've read, whether it's the first book in a series, the 6th book, it doesn't matter. It's always building up. Obviously, all books are building up to their climax, but Sanderson's climaxes are literally about, like, the last 200 pages of a book. Like, that's when it just jump starts and everything's just snowballing really quickly. And so it can be a bit jarring when you go from, like, this really slow journey into this fast-paced ending. I love it. Personally, it's just a wild ride, and I enjoy every second of it, but I get that that's not everyone's taste. But yeah, no, the book, it picks up about 800 pages, and it's fine. It's fine. Just invest a little time in, you know? Wanted to like this book, but ridiculous spren kept sprouting out on some of the pages. The author uses an explicit form of exposition that feels less like spoon feeding and more like force feeding. For example, the capabilities and limitations of the shard blades are laid out repetitively early on. We could have learned this in a less direct fashion over the course of the story. I'd expect this sort of hand-holding from a YA book, but not from something not clearly labeled YA. Other things I don't like. Spren. I dislike the idea in general. They only seem to appear when narratively convenient, and the types of them are weird, feel odd, and really don't allow anyone to keep a secret from anyone else. Or else minty gray secret spren might start appearing. No. There's a reason that the spren are there. There's so much happening on that world. Roshar's fucking wild, you guys. It's, oh man. Okay, anyways. Kaladin seems way too mature for his age. He reads and behaves like a 40-year-old until sporadically his youth is mentioned. I mean, I do think he is a bit mature for his age, but I don't think he reads like a 40-year-old. I do think he does not read like a 19-year-old. Things are going well in Call of Duty. No, I do think Kaladin does come across a bit more mature for his age, but the thing is, he's been through the ringer, you know what I mean? He's been through some stuff, and that does tend to age a soul a little bit. So, I'm gonna leave that one at that. The Shaylin storyline was interesting until I read about her plan, which seems ludicrous. Yeah, that's the thing. The thing is, I've seen a lot of complaints about Shaylin in general, and the thing is, she's an idiot. I love her, but she's an idiot, especially in book 1. Well, all the time. She makes really bad choices. And also, another thing I've seen popping up in some of these reviews is people commenting on Sanderson's bad humor. But the thing is, you're talking about Shaylin specifically. This is not a flaw of Sanderson's writing. This is a character flaw that is an intentional for Shaylin. She has all these like defense mechanisms and coping mechanisms and like all these walls, and one of those is just her wit and humor, and she overdoes it to the extreme where it's like the first like time or the second time you're like aha, and then the third time you're like girl, the 5th time you're like girl no, the 7th time you're like girl, it's been 3 pages and you've made 10 jokes and none of them are funny, please stop. But she doesn't. But there's, like, this is the character flaw. Like, I'm not shaming anybody for doesn't like Shaylin for this reason. I understand it. If people are like, oh god, Shaylin is so annoying. I get it. I love her. And I find her really relatable, which is problematic. But, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. That's the thing, is it's a character flaw that is intentional. It's not like Sanderson's bad at writing humor, because he's not like that with all his characters. It's literally on purpose, and it is Shaylin specifically. Just wanted to make that clear, because I've seen people using Shaylin's like witty jokes as examples for Sanderson's bad writing at humor, and it's like, no, there's a difference there. I'm not saying that Sanderson's like great at writing humor or anything. I'm just saying that that specific example is like, it's a character flaw, not a writing flaw. That's all I wanted to clear up there. Yeah. Oh, I'm tired of all the spren, which seem to emote with anything that happens. Thing is, almost every single review I've looked at has mentioned the spren. People who don't like the spren really want you to know that they do not like the spren. Oh, for anybody who's watching this who like hasn't read these books and has no idea what I'm talking about when I say spren, just like a little, it's not quite a spoiler because like you see spren on the very like first pages of the book, but they're just like these little like reflections of emotion. Like if you get embarrassed and it's a strong enough emotion, these embarrassment spren pop up around you. They're like things that will fall out of the air, things that pop up out of the ground, and they're just like little colorful weird things that are a part of the world. And there's a lot more to them than that, but you don't know that going in. They're just little emotion things. So that's what spren are, and everybody's annoyed by them. Next, storms is used too frequently. Stormfather, high storm, stormlight, storms. Okay, I acknowledge that the series is the Stormlight archive, but can't it be toned down? That's part of the world building. It's literally a world that's ravaged by these storms. And that storms, the word storm is like one of their curses. And I also seen people complaining about that, like how they can't say fuck and how they have like made up curses. Do you read fantasy books? I'm not saying fantasy books can't say fuck, and many do. And I wouldn't be against it if a few fucks were thrown into the Stormlight archive, but knowing Sanderson, that's not going to happen. But I personally really like it when a fantasy series has its own freaking like language things, its own like curses and things like that, because that makes sense, because it's a different world than ours with different languages and different euphemisms and different metaphors and all these different things. And if you're living on a world that is ravaged by storms consistently and your magic is based on this thing called Stormlight, and like you're probably going to be like, ah, storms, that's your curse. It makes sense. I like it. It's okay if you don't, but I like when books do that, at least when they do it well. I'm not going to say I haven't read a fantasy book that like had really weird curses that I just didn't like because they didn't make sense. But this one at least makes sense with the world, is all I'm saying there. There isn't enough history given of the fantasy world. The book started off with some history, and you get pieces here and there of the Voidbringers, Radiance, etc. But it's infrequent and disappointing because it could add so much to the book series. That's intentional. If you're one of those readers who likes to have everything handed to you on a plate right at the beginning, you're not gonna like the Stormlight archive. I keep seeing people saying that like too much information is handed to me at once, or not enough information is handed to me at once. And you need to be somewhere in the middle of those two people if you're gonna read this book, because there is a lot of like info dumping, but not enough, because that's intentional. This is a 10-book series, and there are so many plot twists with the world, with the history, with the religions, with everything, that there's a reason you don't know a lot going in. And that is explained to you. Like, there are reasons explained to you why you don't know a lot of history. Like, the in-world characters don't know a lot of their own history. There's reasons for that, and you'll get to it, I promise. But if you don't like not knowing enough about, like, the history of the world, or the characters, or the races, or whatever, right when you step in the page, you're not gonna like the Stormlight archive, and that's just sad. I'm not impressed with The Way of Kings, and seeing how this is the first Brandon Sanderson novel I've read, I was expecting a lot more. The book is over 1,200 pages, and it moves so slowly that it should have been truncated to 600 pages. I'm too far in to let myself quit, but for now, I cannot place it in the top 10 epic fantasy list. I mean, it is slow paced. Like, I will not disagree with that. The Way of Kings is absolutely slow. I remember when my boyfriend read it, just like, I've just read like 600 pages of bridges. I was like, yeah, that's what happens. But it's so good! Oh, honestly, some of the slower bits in The Way of Kings is like my favorite stuff. But I'm one of those people who in a fantasy novel, or in like a fantasy series, I like the story where it's like the slower journey, where it's like the person is like learning or like training and doing all these things to learn to become this hero. That's like one of my favorite parts of a story, is like that transition that builds up to what's gonna happen next. So that's just my personal preference. Yeah. Gave up on this one. I understand the building world need, but I prefer it happen over time while telling a story. This style of hopping around with no connections and no apparent meaning got to be painfully boring, and I'm sorry I purchased it. Well, the thing is, there's a lot of world building in book one, and yet there is so much more to come. That's all I'm gonna say on that one. I'm sorry, but this is so fucking boring. The plot is going nowhere. It's taking too long. I'm probably gonna die of boredom if I continue reading the next 500 pages. Brandon, why do you have to bore your readers so much? There is no real plot, just words put together in order to extend the length of the book. When you start writing for the money, you just ramble on and on without purpose. Elantris was a masterpiece. This one, juvenile, cheesy, trash. Okay, first of all, do you think Elantris is a masterpiece, but you think The Way of Kings is trash? I love Elantris, don't get me wrong, but it is Sanderson's weakest book by far. Almost everyone agrees with that. I know there are people who absolutely love Elantris more than like Mistborn or whatever, or Way of Kings or whatever. Some people just hold it really dear to their heart, and that is fine because it is amazing, but it is his weakest novel by far. Most everyone who's read the Cosmere agrees with that. That is not like insult to Elantris. I'm just saying. To each their own. To each their own. There is no real plot. That's not true at all. The thing about the Stormlight Archive, right? It's a 10-book series. Book 1 is entirely set up for the rest of the series. Usually when you're reading a book, the first like couple chapters start to set you up for your world and your story. This is a whole book that's setting you up for this story. Not to say that there's not like a plot within book 1 and things happening in book 1. It's just slower because it is all setting you up for the wider picture. Book 2 is a lot more fast-paced. There's a lot more action. There's a lot more character shenanigans and growth and stuff. Book 1 is a lot more limited on that because we're starting at 0 with some of our characters, especially Kaladin. We're starting at 0. He is at the lowest place he could possibly be, and we're starting him off from there. So it takes a while to get him onto a level where you can start the fucking story, and that is all of book 1. That's all I'm going to say about that. If you are someone who has not read any of the Cosmere books and you were wanting to, please don't let these bad reviews turn you off. They are the minority. Look here, I will show you the ratings. Like, there are so many more 5-star and 4-star ratings than there are 1 and 2 stars. Like, the number between those two is huge, okay? These are the minority. And like I said, like, if you don't like hard magic systems or, you know, high fantasy, or if you don't like a slower paced journey or something that's going to build up to be a 10-book series, you don't want to read Stormlight, you know, you don't want to read Mistborn. However, you should, because they're good. Thanks for watching, guys. Like this video, subscribe to your channel if you haven't already. If you agree with any of these criticisms that I've been reading, and you want to talk about it down in the comments, we can, you know, we can have a discussion, a polite, kind, respectful discussion, where we go at it without going at it. Just keep it spoiler-free in the comments, but I do love talking with you guys about these things. The Cosmere specifically, I just cannot even begin to tell you how excited I am for Rhythm of War. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, I'm gonna end the video here now, but thanks for watching, you guys. You guys are the best. Life before death, Radiance.